Hey guys, this is Mike from the Action PC community website. I'm going to take a look at the unblurring post on the forum, where it's basically the poster is using AI to clean up a blurry whole image, and we'll run through the steps of how to actually do some post processing work on that. So first, I'm going to open up the the file that the poster generated. So this is my first look at this unblurred image. So first, I want to make sure that this is the same size as the original. So I'm going to do image size, and it says 4800 by 2460, which is good because when I go into the actual image, so this is the original course. So actually, let me do this. Let me open up the original course files. So I want the whole one JPG. Then I want the whole 1B PNG, which is the lie layer. And now I'm going to select all of this, and I'm just going to paste it on top of this image. So you see in Photoshop, now there's two layers. This is the original image, this is the lie layer. So I can make them visible or invisible if you understand the concept of layers in Photoshop or whatever graphical editing tool you're using. Then I want to open the whole the whole 1C PNG file, which is the slope layer. So the slope layer is what controls how the ball moves. So the issue with this is I just want to mark off the corners of the image so that it will fit properly. Because if I copy this layer into this image, it won't center properly because there's all this extra space. So what I need to do is basically just mark off two corners to keep the exact size. So now I'm going to copy all this contents and then paste on top of here as a third layer. So I can close this. I don't need this anymore. So what do I have now? So now I have the original whole image, and it has three layers. It has the underlying whole image, it has the lie layer that sits on top, and then the sloping. So basically the way the game works is this part is just window dressing, right? The game doesn't know anything about this. What it actually uses to actually quote unquote read the course or read the whole is this image. So what this does is it basically looks at, as the ball travels across this image, it looks at each individual pixel and says, okay, let me just set up my Photoshop real quick to show you. Palette options, pixels. So what this box shows is, as I drag my cursor around the screen, you'll see in this lower left corner it says XY. So these are the XY coordinates of the image. So the X is horizontal and the Y is the vertical axis. So you see as I move the crosshatch cursor around, the value change. So right now the cursor is at X location 2398 pixels out of 4800, and the Y is 1224 of 2460. Where did I get the 4800 and 2460? Well, that's the width is 2400 pixels, or I'm sorry, 4800 pixels, and the height is 2460 pixels. So that's the general idea of how this stuff works. So first, now that we have the original image, let's go back to the blurry, unblurred. This is the AI generated image. So I'm just going to zoom in and take a look at the image and see how it looks. So okay, so the first issue I see is I don't know what this is, this artifact. There's like a line across the T box. So if I go back to the original image, what does the original image show for this? So when I zoom in on the original image, it looks like there's just some, I don't know, a shadow or something, and AI basically converted it into this dark thing. So this I would probably want to fix because it doesn't make sense that there's just some line in the middle of this. So let's take another look. So now I'm looking at this draws my attention. So there's a sand bunker and there's some what looks like the AI generated as rough. I don't know what this is. So let's take a look at this. So now this is back to our original image. Okay, so the original image has this darker spot inside the sand. And let's see on the lie layer. The lie layer is important because this is how the game will interpret this. So when I click on the lie layer, it says, oh, this is this color artifact. So we have some files on our side, on the development side, where we have a color mapping. So these colors correspond to how the game interprets this. So for instance, and you can use your in Photoshop, it's called the eyedropper tool, which is basically just color picker. So if I select the eyedropper tool and then I select on this color, it says in the top left of the info, so look here, so it says 72 184 72. So that's the RGB color coding for this particular object. So if I do that on this file on Fairway, you'll see it's the same thing. So what this means is anything that has this exact color is treated as Fairway. Similarly, anything that's treated as this color, which is 210 177 86, that's looking like pop bunker. So 210 177 86. So Shim Woolley, the person who created this course, indicates that this bunker is a pop bunker. Okay, so since it's a solid color, it doesn't have this any marking of rough or anything in the middle. That indicates to me that this entire object should be a bunker. So when I go back to the image, this, to me, this part needs to be removed from the image because it should just be all white. Okay, does that make sense? So similarly, when I look at this area, this bunker has the same issue, right? So AI treated this as this darker shadow as something other than the bunker and gave it this darker color. So if we go back to our original image, where's our original image? Apologies. Okay, original image. When I go back here, see this is just a solid sand, solid white colored sand bunker. So this should probably be removed too. Now this, I don't know what this is. There's this other dark shadow on this image. This file indicates that there's nothing here, right? So there's no object here. So in my opinion, this needs to be removed. This needs to be removed. I don't know what this is. This is some AI generated artifact. So the major issue that I basically pointed out when this got posted to the forum was that you have what looks like three, I don't know, these almost look like golf carts, three white blobs on the green. So certainly this is not great, right? So if you're playing this hole, you don't know what this is, it doesn't look great, blah, blah, blah. So this eventually needs to be removed as well. When I go back to the original image, you'll see that if I zoom in, oh, okay, so it basically interpreted these little green sloping arrows as whatever, and it just turned them into these white square, white rectangular objects. So first, let's fix the bunkers. So in Photoshop, there's this tool called the blur tool, and what blur tool basically does is you set the size of pixels you want, and then you select an area that you want to basically use as the underlying color or underlying image, and then so basically at this I select here, I'm gonna click the Alt button and click. So now it basically made this my target thing, target area, and then as I go here and then hold down left click and start to color in. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm using the wrong tool. Duh. Okay, let me go back. So what I actually want to use is this, I'm sorry, the clone stamp tool, but it's the same process. So I'm going to select my target area, click Alt, and then as I hold down the left button, mouse button, and sort of color this in. So it's basically using where the crosshatch is. It's using whatever pixels are located there. So that's why I have to continually do this. So now it basically removed that, and I'm going to do the same with this area. So I'm going to select this area as my target, and then just color in. So it's using whatever pixels are at that crosshatch to color in as I move the mouse around and hold down the left mouse button. I'm going to remove this as well. Okay, so now let's go back to this original T area, and I'm going to do the same here. Okay, so I'm just doing some minor digital editing to basically remove whatever this artifact, this AI artifact is. Okay, so now it already looks a little bit better. So now we have this other bunker, and I'm going to do the same thing. So here I have to be careful because I don't have a lot of room to play with, so I have to do a lot of select and then color things. If you get too close to the edge, it'll pick that up, so you have to be careful. So this is a lot of the minor image correction work that we have to do for each and every course, so it is a little bit tedious to do. So now when I zoom out, okay, so now this bunker looks like it's relatively clean, right? So looks a little bit better than before. I guess I would probably I'm not necessarily sure if this should be a pop bunker, but I mean that's Shimwooly's decision. He was the designer, so I would probably just mark that off as a regular bunker, but that's okay. So let's go back and actually let's look at the lie layer. So this is, again, this is the original image, and what I saw before was this drew my attention. So let's zoom in on this. So this looks like we actually just found a bug in the original course file. So on hole 1, this area, you can see it's colored differently in the fairway. So it has this little darker green line, and this and this are the same color. So basically there's a line of first cut rough that's marked in the middle of the fairway, which is a bug. So what we want to do is we want to actually fix this. So we can basically we select the color of the fairway, we use the pencil with we use the pencil tool because there's no anti-aliasing, and if you don't know what anti-aliasing is, you can look it up. It's basically the blurring between pixels. So when we're working with this this lie layer, we want solid pixels. So you see, again, if I zoom in, see how there's these harsh edges, these very angular edges. That means that there's no blurring. So each pixel on the screen has a singular value. There's no blurring. So what we basically want to do is just color this in, right? Because we want that entire area to be treated as fairway. So now this area is going to be treated as fairway and not first cut rough that was in here. So we just fixed an issue. So I'll publish this fix later. So again, this is the original image, but let's go back to the unblurred image. So now we want to address these things. So we're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to click on the clone stamp tool in Photoshop, and then we're going to basically just remove these. So I'm basically just making it look like the pre-existing part of the green. So now you could theoretically stop here, but now you basically just have an image, but you don't know where any of the major areas of slope are. And the reason why we put this in to begin with is to indicate that, hey, there's actually a major slope on the screen. So the idea being that when you reach this area, if you hit this dark area, the ball will now travel back this way without stopping. So strategically, when you're planning your shot, you want to make sure that you're either on either side of this tier. For instance, if there's a whole location above here, you don't want to hit it too close here where the ball runs back down, right? So that's why we put the arrows. So when you're playing, you don't necessarily have to zoom in on everything. You could take a very broad view of the hole. If I'm planning a shot from here and I could say, oh, there's 2 tiers to the screen, right? It's like readily evident without having to drag your cursor all over the screen. So what we want to do is we want to replicate what's being done here in terms of the green shading and the addition of these arrows. So again, I'm going to go back to this unblurred image. But since I'm going to work with this unblurred image, I basically want to copy some of these 2 files over to the new version. So I'm going to do that layer by layer. So I'm going to select just the lie layer. I'm going to do Control A to select all, Control C to copy, and I'm going to paste here. So now I have a lie layer that sits exactly on top of this new image. And I actually see some issues with this as well. For instance, look at the shape of the bunker. So this is the newly generated AI bunker versus the way the whole image looks. Why is this problematic? Well, so let's say if I have my lie layer selected, and then I use this magic wand, right? So I think every digital editing tool or graphical editing tool will have some sort of magic wand, and you want to make sure that the tolerance is 0 and you have anti-aliasing turned off and contiguous selected. So now when I click in the middle of here, it's selecting only this object. So now if I switch back to, if I hide this or make this layer invisible, you'll see that, so now these are not perfect matches. So what AI did was AI basically redrew this bunker shape, but the game is looking for this area, right? This dotted area. So the game treats anything within this dotted area as bunker. So if you're playing this hole with this new image and the ball lands right in here, it's going to treat it as bunker even though it looks like it's in the rough. Conversely, if the ball lands here, it's going to be treated as rough even though it's actually in the bunker. So that's somewhat problematic, right? So that may be a problem with AI modified images. And let's do the same with some of these other bunkers just to see, right? So I'm going to select each one. So now I have these 3 selected, and I'm going to go back to my original image and let's see what the outlines look like. So here you'll see there's not a perfect match, right? So the AI basically moved the image slightly, so you have a problem here. So if the ball lands in here while you're playing, you're going to get a different result than what you're visually seeing. Same with here. See how it's not a perfect match, and the same here. See how it cuts off this corner, cuts this off. So yeah, so again, not great, because you're going to get different results. And another important thing to look at is the green. So let's look at the green and go back. So here you have this area of rough. So so it looks like this area is rough, but the game would treat this as green because the underlying lie layer indicates that, hey, this is green. So I guess I don't know what to say now, because now to me this new file is unusable, right? Because now you have these sort of discrepancies, so it's not going to play the way that it's supposed to play. So adding the slope and fixing all this is sort of, I guess, pointless at this point. So this video was intended to show something, but now it looks like we've basically have uncovered some problematic aspects of this approach. So I don't know. I'm just going to post the link to this in the forum, and we can discuss there. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.